Welcome and good afternoon. This is Commish Orr, and today we have another round of the Best of the 1990s tournament using season ticket baseball has been completed. So let's take a look at the last couple of games of that and a look forward, and we'll take a look. So in the winners bracket, we had a final game between the New York Yankees and the Oakland Athletics. This is the 1998 New York Yankees and the 1990 Oakland Athletics. And the Oakland had been up 2 games to none, but the Yankees won game three to force game four. They still needed to win two more in a row, but it was not to happen. As David Wells, as he has often done in the tournament, he's only had 2 starts, but in both starts he's run into some home run troubles. And the 1990 Oakland Athletics are not a team that you want to have want to run into home run troubles against. So in the very first inning, Jose Canseco and Mark McGwire went back to back and put Oakland up 3-0 after just the first inning. Terry Steinbach hit another solo shot in the second to put Oakland up 4-0. New York would end up scoring a run in the top of the third after Chuck Knobloch grounded into a double play. Derek Jeter did have an RBI single in the third to make it 4-1. But then Big Mac once again hit another solo shot in the sixth, his second home run of the game, and gave Oakland a 5-1 lead, and that's where things would end up staying. Dave Stewart only allowed 1 run over 8 innings. He did allow 8 hits and walked 5, though. New York left so many runners on base. In fact, they left 7 runners in scoring position in this game. So they had multiple opportunities here to score some runs and get back in this one. They out-hit Oakland 8-6, but as has been the story in this series, New York just couldn't, their offense just couldn't get things going. Dennis Eckersley had his first save of the tournament in this one. Pitched in the ninth here after Stewart allowed a couple of base runners to start off the ninth. They turned things over to Eckersley to kind of close things down. But, David Wells, despite allowing 4 homers, only allowed 6 hits. 4 of those 6 hits, obviously, home runs. Other than the home runs, he pitched pretty well. Unfortunately, the home runs killed him. And, he struck out 8 in 8 innings, but his ERA in those 2 games that he's pitched, 9.75. I think he allowed 3 homers in his first start. So yeah, New York. New York gets knocked out of the winners bracket. Oakland becomes the winner of the American League winners bracket so far. They will wait for things to play out in the losers bracket to see who they face in the league championship series, which we'll talk about here in a moment. Now, the other series had the 1998 Houston Astros against the 1999 Arizona Diamondbacks. And much like this series, Houston had taken a 2-games-to-none lead, but Arizona won game 3. Now, this one, though, was in the losers bracket, so whoever lost this series was going to be eliminated. And it was the Diamondbacks. Interestingly enough, Randy Johnson started this one for Houston. Only retired 2 batters before suffering a pulled hamstring and having to exit this game. But Sean Bergman came in and pitched the next 4 2/3 innings, allowed 2 earned runs, 4 hits. He did walk 3, but he took things through. And then the Houston relievers pitched a combined 3 2/3 innings, only allowed 2 hits, no runs. So it was like smooth sailing there at the end of the game for Houston. Meanwhile, Omar Dahl, who is probably is the bad luck pitcher for the tournament, I'd say, he'll drop to 0-4, losing all 4 starts in the tournament, despite an ERA of 4.28. So not a terrible ERA, but in this one, much like some of his other starts, he pitched well. Only allowed 1 earned run through the first 5 innings, but then in the 6th, after retiring Jeff Bagwell, he walked Moises Alou, allowed an RBI double to Richard Hidalgo, an RBI single to Sean Berry, and then a 2-run homer to Carl Everett. and that gave Houston a 5-1 lead. Arizona would score again in the bottom of the sixth to cut the lead to 5-2, but then Alou would be back with a solo shot in the seventh, and against Greg Olson, I believe. And Houston would win this one 6-2 to knock out the Diamondbacks. So the Diamondbacks are eliminated from the tournament. And we'll take a look at this here in a minute. Matt Williams, though, the star for the Diamondbacks, 3 for 4 in this one. He's going to finish the tournament with a .424 average in the games he's played. And I believe he leads in RBI. Yes, 20 RBI in their 14 games. So he was a force to be reckoned with, but unfortunately, this will be his last game in the tournament. So if we take a look at the tournament bracket, we can see that the Oakland Athletics are in the driver's seat here in the American League. The 1998 Atlanta Braves are in the pole position here in the National League. The next series will be a rematch, a couple of rematches actually. In the American League, we have a rematch between the 98 Yankees and the 93 Blue Jays. The Yankees won the first series between these teams 3-1. But then Toronto promptly swept the injury-ridden Cleveland Indians, the 1995 Cleveland Indians, in the losers bracket to get this rematch with the Yankees. Winner will face the A's in the League Championship Series. On the National League side, we also have a rematch. In this case, it's the Montreal Expos, the 94 Expos, against the 98 Astros. And Montreal won the first series 3-2 before being swept by the Braves. Meanwhile, the Astros, after losing that series to Montreal, won 3-1 against the Diamondbacks, as we just noted. And so those two teams will get a rematch here. Houston hoping to overcome the Expos this time around, the winner of which will face the 98 Braves in the National League Championship Series. And so, overall, you can see the seeding. We have the number 2 and number 4 seeded teams in the American League have been eliminated. Meanwhile, the National League is exactly what you'd expect. The 5 and 4 seeds are gone. If things continue in that same vein, we will. The Expos should be the next team eliminated, but anything can happen. Meanwhile, we have the 5th seeded Blue Jays facing the 1 seeded Yankees here. The Yankees have a lot to prove after their offense went quiet in this last series. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Let's take a look at some of the stats. I'm going to blow this up so you can actually read it. No, that's a little too much. Blow this up so you can actually read it. You see that actually we're going to take a look at, remember I said the Yankees just had a horrible season, or a horrible series against Oakland. We can see that here. So they had the same number of at-bats in their series with Toronto as they did with their series against Oakland. But look at the batting average. They hit .285 against Toronto and scored 23 runs, or 24 runs, excuse me. They hit .192 against Oakland and only scored 9 runs. Very, very bad. They hit .192 against Oakland, an on-base percentage of only .254, and a slugging of only .292. Very bad all the way around. If you look at the ERAs, one would be surprised because their pitchers actually pitched pretty well against Oakland. Their ERA only .360 against Oakland in the series. And they allowed fewer runs than they did in the Toronto series, but again, their offense just didn't show up. And that was the big difference between the series. There was a little bit of, they did have a few more errors in the series against Oakland, but overall it was that the hitting that really did them in overall. If we kind of back things up, let's go to the leaderboards. Now, some of these counting stats leaders are a little funky because some teams have played many more games than others, but I think it gives you a good overall. We can see, Ricky Henderson leading off for Oakland, hitting .486 in the series, or in the tournament, excuse me. .486. and he's going to be waiting for whichever team comes out of the American League losers bracket. John Olerud, number 2 at 475. He's down there with Paul Molitor for Toronto, facing out against the Yankees, who don't have a player in the top 10 in batting average, nor do they in any of the offensive stats. Matt Williams, as I mentioned, leading all with 20 RBI. I'm sure he's going to lose that number 1 spot because Arizona's eliminated. Mark McGwire, 7 home runs, almost double what the number 2 people have, Bagwell and Matt Williams. And Joe Carter, just on a tear like you would expect. And he's just tearing it up. Once again, I'll note that Ricky Henderson is number 1 and number 2 in stolen bases. The Toronto Ricky Henderson has 8. The Oakland Ricky Henderson has 8. So pretty crazy stuff there. What about the pitching leaders? Once again, you have to kind of take this with a grain of salt because, for example, Kirk McCaskill leads with a 0 ERA, but the White Sox were eliminated in the first round, so that was probably like 1 start. So you kind of, again, have to take that with a grain of salt. Despite being eliminated, Arizona pitchers were number 1 and number 2 in strikeouts. But look at that. Greg Maddux dominating for Atlanta with an opponent batting average of .088 against him, I think, in 2 starts. And he has an ERA of 0.5. So crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. We can see he's allowed his whip is 389, which is just insane. Of course, that's in 2 starts. Just insane. As I mentioned, Omar Dahl, 0-4, despite having 3 quality starts. Still 0-4. Just very bad luck for Omar Dahl. David Wells has given up 7 homers. Omar Dahl gave up 5, so that's a little bit of the reason for his poor performance despite decent stats otherwise. So that kind of gives you a little bit of an overview there. If we take a look at the matchups, Toronto's team batting average is .322. They've just been a terror. Yankees batting average .238. A lot of that lowered because of the Oakland series. But their ERA is .424 compared to Toronto's .475. So Toronto pitching, not very good. We'll see if the Yankees can take advantage of that in the next series. Meanwhile, down here in the National League, we have Houston, which has a .337 batting average, just, again, tearing it up against the Expos, who only are hitting .264. Expos marginally better ERA, .476 compared to .491 for Houston. So it'll be interesting to see how that series shapes out. The teams are pretty evenly matched in terms of their last series that they faced each other. But yeah, that's what you have here in the bracket. Just as a reminder, we'll go back to that. And here's what you see for the setup. Now, if you want to follow along, you can head over to baseballmaelstrom.com to follow the action. This has both my current projects on it along with my past projects. This one being the 1990s tourney. You can click on that link to go to the page that's all about the 1990s tourney. My other project is my Payoff Pitch, Season 2 of my Payoff Pitch League that I have going on, which is what you'll see down here with the standings and upcoming schedule and such. I alternate those every other week, so it'll be a couple of weeks before I start the next round for the season ticket tournament because we are very close in the Payoff Pitch League to the All-Star break. So a couple more weeks of that and we'll be at the All-Star break. So that's coming up. As always, if you head over here, you can check out the game write-ups on every game that I play, get the box scores and score sheets, and just follow along that way. That's where we will leave things today. If you have some comments, if you have some thoughts, once again, if you think, taking a look at the tournament bracket, who do you think is going to come out on top of the 1990s tournament? I think the teams that are left all have a shot. Atlanta's pitching staff would be hard to overcome, but we'll see how things go. So that might be my early pick, but But what about you? What do you think? Leave some comments down below. Let me know what you think. If you want to follow along and make sure you don't miss anything, consider subscribing, clicking the like button, and we will leave things for here for now. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, have a great evening.